Hello, my name is Christy Keeler, and this video will introduce you to building a room for a virtual museum in PowerPoint. Note that this technique was first introduced by technology coordinators at Keith Valley Middle School. Go ahead and begin by opening up a PowerPoint slideshow, and you just want to work with the first page. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all of these guidelines that would normally exist in a layout just by highlighting on them and deleting. I now need to bring up my toolbar menu, and you'll do that by going to View, Toolbars, and down to Drawing. You'll notice that it is on if this little checkbox is marked right here. So you'll see that mine appeared here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is just put in a rectangle. So I'll click on my rectangle tool and draw a little rectangle, mine in a little bit, and now I'm going to copy it and paste it. So now I have two that are exactly the same size, and I'm going to put one on each side. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a trapezoid, and a trapezoid can be found in my basic shapes, and here it is. I'm going to click by just making it any size that I want, and I'm going to have to flip that. You'll flip it by on a PC it'll say draw, or you'll use this tool up here on the Mac and go down to rotate or flip, and you'll want to rotate it, I always get this one wrong, rotate it left. I'm going to go ahead then and I'm going to move it over to here, and what I can do is I can drag this down so it actually fits nicely against this other wall. Because I know that this rectangle is the same as this one, all I have to do is copy and paste this trapezoid that I've made, and now I need to flip it. I'm going to flip it horizontally, and I can butt it right up against this side right over here. Now I could actually align things to make sure that they're working, but for now I'm not going to worry about that. And now what I need to do is put in a back wall. Again, I'm going to choose a rectangle. I'm going to put it right here and move it down. Now here's where you can see that I'm not exactly aligning because there's a little bit off here and up here. The way that I can make sure that all of my items align in the center is if I click on each one by holding the Shift key. I can go to Align, and I want to align the middle of each of them, and now you can see that it made everything line up top to bottom, so that little overlap here is now gone. So I'm starting to get it to look like a room, but I do need a floor on the bottom. So what I'm going to do to create my floor on the bottom is again a rectangle tool, and just put that in there. But I'm also not going to want it to look like that, and it's kind of annoying because it's right in the front. The way that I'm going to move that then to the back is to go again to my drawing tool, go down to Arrange, and send it to the back. Now you can see it's in the background. I can do the same thing. I can actually just copy and paste that, move another one to the top so I have a ceiling, and again arrange it by sending it to the back. Now I've got a very blue room, so what I want to do is I want to mix it up a little bit. So let me give this ceiling a different look. You know that you've got the ceiling because you can see these handlers, these little white things around what looks like a rectangle that's hiding there in the back. What I'm going to use to change that look is I'm going to use the Fill tool. The paint bucket or fill tool is here, and instead of that color I'm going to use something called Fill Effects. And you can choose any option that you want, but right now I'm going to choose a pattern, and I think I'm going to keep it with kind of the same color but just give it a little bit more visual interest. So still maybe a little too blue, but it'll do for the purposes of this video. Now on the bottom I want it to look like a nice wooden floor. So again I click on the object, the rectangle in the back. I go to my Fill tool, I go to Fill Effects, and this time I'm going to choose a texture. And maybe I want it to look like a nice wooden floor. Oh, here, this is good. And now I've got a wooden floor. So now I have my basic museum. I can go in now and I can add in rectangles that can be my pictures that I can put on the wall, and there is another video that shows you how to fill those pictures. I can also put in rectangles on the side, but then on side walls, but then they won't maintain that perspective. So the trick to maintaining the perspective here is to go ahead and instead of putting in a rectangle, again use a trapezoid. So I'm going to hold a trapezoid, get a trapezoid, put it in there, and then I am going to need to rotate it. Oops, rotated it the wrong direction. Oop, again. And let's undo that. Okay, and flip it. Still did it the wrong way. Sorry. And rotate left. There we go. And now I can make it look a little bit more like maybe a picture on the wall. If I want to, I can bring it in a little bit using this yellow. I can make it wider or not as wide. Again, I can copy it and paste it, move it onto this side, and if I can remember which way to flip it, if I flip it, it'll go the correct direction again. There we go. I can then put in one in the back if I'd like, and I can even add arrows to tell my users to go into the next room. The way that I would bring an arrow in is I can go to Block Arrows, choose an arrow that I want, and just put it right here so that I know that if they go that way, then they'll be in the next room. I can later add buttons if I'd like to show how to get into that next room. To add a little bit more visual interest to this room, what I might do is change the wall colors. What I've done so far is I've just created all of these general rectangle tools. So what I'm going to do with these tools now is I'm going to choose the one rectangle to start with, and I'm going to change its color. So let me give it, this greenish color. Still, it's kind of bright, so I'm going to deal a little bit with changing some of those effects, and I'm going to make my effects, in this case, I'm looking at these different variations. I'm going to make it vertical, so it's up and down, and instead of going from black to the bluish green, I'm going to make it kind of go to white. And so what I'm going to be trying to do is figure out if the light is coming from this direction, what is it going to look like over here? So let me choose this trapezoid now, and I can again change that color. Oops, excuse me. Choose Fill Effects. I'm again going to choose vertical, again this one, but instead I want it to be light, and again that color that I wanted was this more green. This time though, even though I want it to go to the light, I don't want it to go from left to right. I want the light to appear by that edge. So I've kind of changed it a little bit. This back one I think I'm just going to make green, and then again I'm going to do a variation with the color gradients on this side. And one more to go. Okay, so now I've got a bit of visual interest in my room, and that is how you create a basic room for a virtual museum template.